Good morning, guys. Ben, 406 Garage. I'm standing in the sunlight here. Sorry, I'm putting the glasses on so I can see you guys a little better. All right, today you're joining us for another episode of the Binder Finder and a rescue. We were contacted by a gentleman with a original paint, original interior, all original vehicle, garage stored its whole life. And you guys are definitely going to want to see this one, and you can tell it's serious because we have the big trailer, enclosed trailer, and that can only mean one thing: it's too nice to haul on an open car carrier. So sun's up, truck's full of fuel. Let's go see what we can find. All right, guys, here we are. Driving through the beautiful forests of Central Oregon. It's not a perfect day. It's a little cloudy. It's supposed to be like 70 degrees though, so anyway, just thought I'd give you guys a look here. We are several hours away still, so stay tuned. So we had a big forest fire come through here a couple of years ago, and it just absolutely devastated this area. They've been cleaning this up for 2 years, trying to get all the burnt dead trees down and harvest them into firewood or usable logs and things like that. But it just absolutely destroyed everything around here. This is a beautiful forest, and yeah, it's hard. These communities are very tourist driven, so to have this devastate their area like this definitely affects their business and livelihood. So I truly hope all these businesses can build back and come back stronger. But yeah, this has been a couple of years just to get this cleaned up. Trusty co-piloting. Go anywhere without this dog. She's great. Currently just waiting for the next activity. She wants to know if there's a ball or a stick or something to play with when we get there. And of course, when you're on a road trip, what do? You eat really healthy, right? Always. Duh. Probably will regret that later. So, hi guys, Ben, 406 Garage. We made it here to Cory's house. Cory is the one that called us and told us about his 79 Scout 2 Rallye that he's had for the better part of 3 decades, and called us up and wanted us to come rescue it and restore it, preserve it, and give it a good home. He's just not using it anymore, and there's other things in his life that are taking priority, so he wanted to make sure it went to a good home. And he did tell me today that he actually had second thoughts even today that he might not even sell it, so this obviously means a lot to you. How did you acquire this truck, or when?
Okay, in the mid 90s, I believe, I was riding around with my friend in a Scout 2 304 V8, just not Rallye, but 4-wheel drive, and we would ride around. He inherited it. We'd ride around in the mountains and go fishing in it all the time, and I loved it. And I was working part-time for my stepfather, and his partner was reading the Oregonian one day, and he said,
back when we had the actual classified ads, that we would look at on that piece of paper. Yeah,
and he said, look at this advertisement for a Scout. And he said, it says best Scout in the Northwest.
Best Scout in the Northwest.
That's right. And so I called the guy on the phone and I said, I'm up here in Kelso, Washington,
so north,
working.
Portland.
And he was down in Eugene. I said, if it's so good and you feel like it, I'll get cash together and I'll meet you in Woodland, Washington. I'll drive south a little ways and we'll see how good it is, and I'll make you an offer. And he drove up there and we started talking and we had lunch and I looked at it and it was unbelievable. and I found out he was an electrician. He was the second owner, and he was an electrician for the film industry, and he was used to work for the company that made the TV show called MASH.
My dad's favorite show, black and white, military.
And then
that's awesome.
I gave him money, and actually what's crazy is that my mother had to drive me up there.
You had to get a ride?
To get a ride to go, because I knew I had a feeling I was going to get it if it was good.
Right. And you're driving home.
Because I wanted to show my friend up, who had a really nice one.
But it wasn't a Rallye.
But it wasn't a Rallye.
So you were one-upping him with the Rallye package.
Exactly. So that's what I really wanted to do, and I knew if it was good, I was working, making enough money. I wanted it. So I gave the guy the money, and I drove it home, and I drove it to the shop that I was working at, and all of us, I drove it in, and all of us were just blown away at the condition of it. It was just perfect.
And I'm gonna show you guys the quick little walk around when we're done here, and I will tell you, even after 3 decades of him owning it, it still looks really good, like really good.
And we're in Seaside, Oregon, and so that was in Kelso, Washington, and at that time I had stored it in a garage. Like, it had always been garage kept, and I had stored it in a family garage, and then I decided to come back down to Seaside and to a family house and live, but I didn't want it to sit outside, so I built this garage that you're looking at
sitting in right now.
here.
So they literally built this building, I'll show you guys here in a minute, to hold this Scout.
To hold the Scout so that it wouldn't get worse. Well, you know, when you're living at the coast, and we're only a block from the beach right here.
It's literally like 300 yards that way.
The water.
The water,
and
the salt water.
The ocean. And so there is going to be a little bit of erosion on it, but it's really not the worst thing in the world. The worst thing is that it had already gotten some corrosion around the windscreen, the windshield on the lower right hand and left hand sides.
And that's just from the moisture sitting there in that seal.
And that's very common.
Now that would happen in the valley even, or even over where we live in the high desert. That same thing can happen.
Yeah.
So it's not because it was at the coast. Like we talked about before, I would never buy vehicles from the coast because they're always junk and they're ruined.
Yeah.
But when you told me the story of the garage and how you kept it, how it went from one garage to another garage, this is the one vehicle I've ever bought on the coast that I can tell you guys unequivocally is exactly what he said it was.
Well, let's get to the story about how you got involved in this, because I think that's really important.
That's a whole circle by itself.
One of my friends who builds hot rods and that I've known for a long time was going to fix that rust around the windshield, and he came over to look at it and to make an appointment and get an idea of how much work it was going to be.
Yep.
So he told me about 10 hours worth of work, and he says to me, he says, well, I have a guy that I think might be interested in it. Would you consider selling it? And I said, well, maybe to the right person I would. And he goes, this is the right person for sure. And he goes, let me call. So he called this guy on the phone, and this guy called this guy right here.
Yeah.
And this guy called me on the phone about, what was it, about 4 days later or something?
Yeah, a couple days later, yeah.
And then we got talking about it, and that's what brought him down here. So the truck actually was not for sale. But because of my friend asking me about it, and then me talking to this guy, I realized how much, and I looked at his website, and I realized how much he liked internationals, and I love internationals, and I love Scouts. And ever since I started riding in my friends, I was just head over heels. The 100-inch wheelbase is by far the best distance of wheelbase that you want. I like Jeeps, but they're too short and bouncy.
They're just a little too short.
Yep.
And then they made the Scout with a 118-inch wheelbase, which was nice, but it was a little long for the average guy to go out and really enjoy it.
Yeah, well, you can turn, you can, on a single lane gravel road, you can turn this around.
Yeah.
Doing like a, jockeying around, but anything more than that, a Jeep is a little easier, but you can't go that fast.
Yeah, but a Jeep, you can go like this down the road too, like a buckboard wagon.
Exactly.
Whereas this actually rides nice and smooth.
Yeah, there's a nickname for these. It's a logging road Cadillac. That's what my friends call them.
Now, let's talk a little bit about, real quick too, the dealership that was in Portland. That was Ernie Bizio.
Correct, Bizio Motors.
And you and Ernie were buddies, and you guys
Yep.
used to eat oysters together and hang out together. And
Yep. So first,
and would you drive this up when you go see him?
okay, first time I went up there to meet him was in my friend's 79 Scout 2 304.
The one that you one-upped him with the Rallye, that guy. Yeah.
And he and I would go to Portland sometimes and go pick up stuff and enjoy ourselves. And we would stop by there in the daytime and talk with him and let him teach us stuff and look at the trucks that were in the Ernie Bizio's yard. And then we found out that he liked oysters, and a lot. And so he said, we will bring some oysters. So then we came back down to Seaside, and then we would go to either up to Nakata or one of the places where they
sell them every day. They were literally caught today, right?
Yeah, where they were pulled out of the mud.
Right.
And we would drive them down to Ernie's shop, and he would shut the doors, and we would drink beer, and he would use. We would bring a clean hubcap from a Scout, or he would bring a hubcap.
And that's
out,
what you shucked them in?
and we shucked the oysters and put them in a hubcap.
Of course you did.
And then we would eat oysters on the half shell.
I bet that was the
and
highlight
drink
of Ernie's
beer.
day, eating it out of the hubcap.
Oh, you wouldn't believe what it was like to call him on the phone. The first thing he would say to us was, "Are you guys coming down soon with some more oysters?"
Yeah, when are you coming back? I'm ready.
And
I got beer, let's go.
And it's just a weird twist of fate. We did that like quite a few times, and then he started to close the. This is for over 4 or 5 years.
All right, and you guys also would be amazed, and this is one of my favorite things about this, the amount of documentation that this man has. Now, the funny thing was, he told me he's a nerd about it, and I was like, "You're not a nerd. This is the stuff that we all dream of." You know, he's got receipts from every auto parts purchase he ever made, receipts from Ernie Bizio, receipts from the original owner, the original owner's manual, the books, the service manual, the warranty manual, the accessory manual, the secondary owner's manual. I mean, the amount of documentation is amazing, and that speaks highly to you as the, you know, we all view these as, we're caretakers, right? We're only a caretaker for as long as we can be a caretaker, then we have to pass it on to somebody else.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's part of the reason I like to do these videos and try and tell these stories, so we have the story to pass on, because if you're not here and I'm not here and neither one of us can tell the story, no one's ever going to know the story and why this Scout is so important.
Yeah, I got this rig, remember, from the second owner.
Right.
And from what I looked up, there was only 879 made. And Ernie told me when I was there, he said, if there was only 800 of them made, how many of them do you think are junked, and how many do you think
how many are still
left?
on the road? Yeah, and of the ones that are still on the road, how many of them are actually nice?
Yeah, and this one has had no major damage. It has a small amount of surface rust on it, but hardly at all. No major rust, and it's got very few.
It has one dent.
One little teeny dent this big on the corner over here.
Which, by the way, he bought an NOS factory original corner for it, which I don't think I'm going to put on because the paint's too good. This thing is 100% original paint except for the top.
Yeah.
And the only reason the top got sprayed is because the clear coat flaked a little bit. So he had it resprayed, but it wasn't because of damage. But anyway, he's got an NOS in the box, rear corner. I mean, you can't even buy those anymore.
That I bought from Ernie.
You bought from Ernie.
Bizio.
And you probably were eating oysters and drinking beer when you picked it up.
Exactly was. I'll actually go get it so that you can see. And there it is.
Now, if you guys know anything about this stuff, you know that these are, I call these unobtainium. There are companies that have repopped these and stuff like that, but this is a NOS, meaning this was made by International.
NOS.
It's the real deal.
There. And if anybody wants to see that doesn't believe, I believe it says right there, Bizio Motors.
Bizio Motors, shipped from the Scout Light line in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Yeah. And so this is right straight from Ernie's shop.
That's
and the
so
reason I
cool.
talk about this whole Ernie thing is because he was the very last actual operating Scout dealer in the world.
I know, he was the sole survivor, as we like to call him.
That's right. And he was the nicest guy, and he always helped people. And all the people that met him all remembered him as being that great guy, and so we should all wish that we could be as good as him.
Yep. So that's where my 70 1200 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive pickup came from Ernie. The guy I got it from, he lived in Lebanon, Oregon, but he bought it from Ernie. The Travelall that started my whole thing on the internationals, which was my grandfather's Travelall, he lived in Gladstone, Milwaukee area, and he bought his Travelall from Ernie as well, because Ernie was the guy.
Because in that business that he was in on Sandy Boulevard was the same place that he was in forever.
Yeah, it was day one to day end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, as I told you, I'm honored to buy it. I appreciate you instilling me as the caretaker going forward with it, and I'm really appreciative that you had the amount of documentation that you have and that you've cared for it as well as you have. We're going to do a couple little things to it and make it really nice driver and just go out and enjoy it.
And that's all you can really do, and enjoy them, because that's what they're for.
Yep, they put a smile on your face everywhere you go, and everybody asks you about them when you go get gas and everything.
Everywhere there's people, you'll be driving down the road in this, and people will be waving at you all the time.
Yeah.
And when you stop at a light, people say things. When you go to the grocery store, they say something to you. They say "Nice Scout" for all the guys that know it,
right?
And some women know what they are, but you know, it's amazing what kind of response you get, especially if it's a rally.
Yep. Yeah,
because it's got that big stripe on the side.
I always tell people when you drive one of these around, especially a nice one, it's like having a celebrity with you, because everybody wants to stop and they don't want your autograph like a celebrity, but they want to stop and talk to you. They want to take a picture with you.
Yep.
They want to tell you a story about how they rode in the back of one down a dirt road to a fishing hole with their grandpa or whatever.
Yep, that's right.
You meet the nicest people that have the most incredible memories in these things, and driving them around instews those and brings those memories back for people. You know,
That's
they
right.
go back to their childhood.
That's right. And the interior on this one, when he walks around and shows you, it has this crazy plaid interior, which is a kind of a deluxe cloth interior for these. And people love the plaid interior. They just love it, especially the ladies. The ladies love the plaid.
And the funny thing
door
about
panels.
that, I bet you Ernie will tell you the same thing too. Back when these were new, nobody wanted the plaid because it was too weird. It was too out of the sorts and stuff like that. And of course now, you look back and everyone's like, man, if it's got the plaid, it is the cat's meow, right? That's the one.
Yep.
But back when they were new, it was the one that they were like, well, I mean, you can put seat covers on it, which you did, right? You put seat covers on.
Yeah, it came that way. It came with sheepskin seat covers,
which is part of the reason they're so nice still.
And that made it so there's not a hole in the cloth of it.
Right.
There's a small hole on the side of it that was from probably the seat going up and down.
Yeah.
That's in the vinyl. It's not in the cloth, and that can be fixed.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, I'm going to do a walk around for you guys after we get it out. Maybe when I get home. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how this video goes. But again, thank you, Cory. I greatly appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Enjoy it.
We will, and I look forward to you. This is a promise you made. You're going to come visit.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get it all dialed, and then you can take it and we'll go to lunch. We'll go to Snowcap. We'll have a burger and a milkshake in Sisters, Oregon.
That sounds good.
All right, man. Here it is, coming out of the garage for the last time. Really, really honored to buy this rig. Look at this thing, you guys. That's original paint. Doesn't get much better than that. Alright guys, that's a wrap for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the story. Cory was an amazing guy, and we're super, super excited about the 79 Scout 2 Rallye. Tahitian red, 2-owner, fully loaded truck that's in the trailer behind us. We'll do a walk around video and more stories about Cory and about this truck in upcoming episodes. Thanks guys. Make sure you guys like, tag, share, and follow, and help us continue to tell the stories of these trucks.